Hey, g'day guys, it's Galvin from the Cartoon Company down under in New Zealand. I'm at the pointy end of the stick for this LS400 repair job, and it's decided it wants to fight me. Drives really well, goes beautifully, runs, changes gear, everything's nice, and it's throwing a knock sensor code, which in this case is code 52. And it's annoying, yep, but that's part of doing a job like this. Sometimes they don't always go to plan. And we can't just replace every single sensor in the hope it's going to sort the vehicle. So let's do some checking. What I've done so far is check the codes. I was out on the back blocks. So let's just have a quick look at that. I'm out on a test drive, and this car's throwing a check engine light. And that's damn annoying. However, I've got the special tool. We're going to check some codes. Now I am in the middle of nowhere. We'll have a look at my surroundings. Let's look where I am. So literally the middle of nowhere, and I have a split pin. I'm not opening the bonnet or the hood. We're going to go under here, and up here we have a diagnostic port. We open it, TE1 and E1. So I bridge them, and I count the flashes. So it brought up code 52, number 1 knock sensor. Not too worried, and it gives us a good opportunity to go over this on a real car. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check the wiring, because I have had this one apart. The loom has been to pieces. It's had the loom under the manifold repaired. It's got a different ECU in it, so lots of potential there. This vehicle, when it came in, didn't give me good fault codes, and the computer was stuffed. So I'm not surprised now that it's actually picking up faults. And they've probably been there for a long time, and they weren't exposed because the ECU was faulty. So I've got the ECU here, glove box is out, that pops out, and the 2 knock sensor wires in this one are the black and the grey right there in that D plug. That'll allow me to continuity test out to the knock sensors themselves, the whole circuit. And the knock sensors are down there. And whilst my assistant does have small hands, this case we're going to pull the manifold off and have a look. So I'm just going to pop the manifold off. It's not actually a big job. And we're going to do some testing as we go through. I've seen plenty of guys who don't even know what the knock sensors are, so we'll actually have a look at them, and I probably should include that this is a knock sensor. Oh, I've got a whole box of them. Let's have a look. My box of knock sensors, and they look like that. So a bit of a trick when you're doing this, I whip this front coil off to give me access into here to that coil. These little bits of metal, these little spaces, try to fall out. You don't want them falling into your engine. So I put a zip tie around them to keep them out of the way. And then this wiring loom can come right out of the way. That's right out of the way. Can't be damaged. Of course, this wiring loom has had a refab, so it's easy to unplug. I'm not worried about broken connectors because they just unplug like they should. This cable is not the kickdown cable. This is the line pressure cable. I leave the bracket on so I don't end up adjusting it so it goes back in the right place. This is the solenoid for the purge, for the fuel tank breather. I think guys that take it off in factory cars kind of like fuel smells. I don't like fuel smells. Toyota put it there for a reason, so best left alone. As you can see, I've dropped the whole top plenum off. So that was nice and simple. Fuel line. Often these fittings here are a bit funny. So I just pop the dampener off, the fuel rail, and make sure you get your washers around the correct way. Again, loom all out of the way and just pulled out of the way so it's not in your way at all. Here's your start trigger connector, which has also got the 2 knock wires in it, so located at the back of the engine. Black to black, grey to grey, so we're okay there. So that's correct. So for this one being 20 series, here's the return line for the fuel, and it goes behind the wiring loom. So it comes through here and then behind the wiring loom, and is actually bolted to the back crossover. So in this case, I'm just going to pop the hose off here, the rubber hose off there, and then slide the manifold out. Slightly different to the 10 series. Here we go. Intake manifold is off. Again, I was able just to pop this out of the way and move this out of the way enough to pull the manifold out easily. And here are our knock sensors. Let's have a look down there. There's the knock sensor, and there's the knock sensor. So knock sensor number 1 is on the same side as cylinder number 1. So that's on the left hand side. It has the black wire going to it. Knock sensor number 2 is on the right hand side. Of course, that's presently on my left, but it's when you're sitting in the car getting it right and left. Next, I'm going to run a wire and continuity test from the ECU out to these knock sensor plugs to confirm the wiring is good. I'll make up a test lead and we'll check that out. The wire into knock number 1, into knock number 1, the black wire that's on the left hand side of the engine, this side. Okay, because that's the left, that's the right. Right. Even though this is my left hand, that's the right hand side of the engine. And I have continuity. Swapping to knock number 2. And into knock number 2. Continuity, looks good. The knock sensors must be done up correctly. So I flicked another couple in. Let's put it back together and check that it's all good. I probably should clear the check codes while I'm here. Pretty easy to do. EFI fuse. Disconnecting the battery also clears the codes on these early ones. All back together, ready for a test drive. Just like any other repair I've done, I always like to go for a test drive afterwards. And this car is beautiful to drive at over 426,000 Ks. Basically, once you've diagnosed and checked that the wiring is all fine, it doesn't leave much else but the sensors itself. When I pulled this one apart last time, the computer was stuffed, so it wasn't reading fault codes. And knock sensors failing could have also contributed to problems with this car. Now it's got some replacement ones in it, and whilst I'd love to say it got some new ones, I had some good second-hand ones, popped them in, and they're just fine. They're behaving. 427,000 Ks we just clocked over there, and it drives like a new one. This is a lovely car. So I'm going to give it a good drive. I've got to put the glove box back in, and we're just about ready to send this one back to its owner. Other reasons why you might be getting a knock sensor fault is it's actually detecting knock. So really poor quality petrol, a stuffed engine, a run big ends could bring up knock faults. and other vibrations or banging around the engine. One interesting one I had, a flex plate was loose. So it was banging around on the back of the engine. Knock sensors were going, there's a problem, and working overtime. So just be aware of things like that as well. So this one's now behaving, so I'm really happy. And just being patient and methodical with your diagnosis and your testing is really important. I probably should do a little bit of a rundown on the purpose of knock sensors. And they do exactly that. They detect knock or detonation within the engine. So they're designed as a safety feature. In an ideal world, they're just going along for a ride. They never get used. But if you get poor petrol or other things go wrong, they detect knock. They send a signal back to the ECU, a frequency back to the ECU, and the ECU will retard the ignition timing to ensure that the engine doesn't explode. Look, that's probably as basic as I can make it. They are an important component, and if they're not functioning correctly, they will give fault codes with the standard ECU. With aftermarket ECUs, they can still be used and set up, and certainly on turbocharged vehicles, it's very important that they operate correctly. And still a big benefit on NA vehicles. However, a lot of them don't have that safety feature included in the more basic ECU. So I hope that's been helpful, and we'll talk to you again soon. Catch you later.